Well, it's time now for the day's business news, and for that I'm joined on set by Stephen Carroll. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Axie.
Now, for the past year of coronavirus, it's been good for some companies. One of those is Apple.
Yeah, that's right. The iPhone maker reporting record results for the last 3 months of 2020, topping off a bumper year for the company, where sales were boosted by people working from home. For the first time in Apple's history, its quarterly sales topped $100 billion, coming in at $111 billion for that 3-month period, up by almost a fifth. Profits boosted too, also up to just under $29 billion. This is how things panned out across various Apple items. The iPhone is its most expensive, or rather biggest earner, I should say, for the company. Its sales were up by 17%. That's despite Apple delaying the launch of a 5G capable phone. Major jump too in sales of the iPad, which had been flagging in recent years, and wearables too, which are things like the Apple Watch and iPods also saw, or AirPods, I should say. iPods, God, it's a long time ago. AirPods, they were also up by around 30%. Interestingly, the company didn't give any guidance on what it's expecting for the first 3 months of 2020, citing uncertainty over the pandemic.
Well, Stephen, not quite such a stellar year from the car maker Tesla.
That's right. The electric car maker's results, a bit of a mixed bag, actually. The good news was they reported record deliveries of cars, with just over 180,000 vehicles being shipped to customers in the last 3 months of 2020. Profits, though, didn't meet expectations, and the company's shares fell in after-hours trading as a result. Now, for the year 2020, it saw profits of $721 million. That's compared to a loss of $862 million in 2019.
Well, Stephen, next to the latest on the stock market saga involving the retailer GameStop.
Now, for several days, day traders using online forums have been taking on big Wall Street hedge funds who had bet against GameStop's fortunes. Now, these small traders had been furiously buying up its shares, in turn driving up the price of those shares and inflicting heavy losses on short-selling funds. The latest twist saw one of those forums actually close to people who were not subscribers for a few hours, and that caused a huge slump in the company's share price. It tumbled along with other companies that had been invested in by these forum traders. Cinema chain AMC is one of those. The Reddit forum now back online, but hedge funds are scaling back their bets because of the losses that they've suffered.
Well, it played out that those who are pushing the share prices higher are on the winning side, but those hedge funds that are short the stock, that believe that the price will be going down, are getting squeezed. And so the concern is that we end up with some hedge funds that have financial difficulties.
Let's take a look at what's happening on the markets today. Asian shares sharply down in trading after a bruising session on Wall Street on Wednesday. The Nikkei in Tokyo down 1.5%. Sharp falls, as you can see, across the board there. Interestingly, there's another company benefiting from this GameStop phenomenon, and that's the mining company GME Resources in Australia. They have the same stock code as GameStop, and as a result, its shares are up 13% in trading today.
Now, Stephen, here in France, a deal with an Italian company to buy part of the shipyards on the Atlantic coast has fallen through.
This was a joint project between the French and Italian governments for the Saint-Nazaire shipyard, which is a major constructor of cruise ships. Italy's Fincantieri was meant to buy 51% of the venture in a deal that was signed in 2018. But the pandemic's effect on tourism, plus competition law concerns from the European Commission, have sunk the agreement. The shipyard had been nationalised by the French state after its previous owner went bust in 2017. France's Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire says he's now looking at other options for the future of the site.
And finally, here in Paris, City Hall has narrowly escaped a rather hefty fine for not respecting a gender parity law.
That's right. Critics have called this fine absurd, as it penalised the city for naming more women than men to management roles. The French government says the money now won't be collected. Paris's Mayor Anne Hidalgo says the funds will be donated to a hotline for victims of domestic violence. Claire Rush has the story.
A fine handed down to the city of Paris last year for naming women to 69% of management roles in 2018, when regulations mandate no gender account for more than 60% of such positions. France's public service minister, however, has now rescinded the hefty fine in a move hailed by Mayor Anne Hidalgo.
Without unwavering willingness and determination, we won't be able to break the glass ceiling and ensure that there is equality between women and men in public service.
To many, the fine was at odds with the government's efforts in recent years to address gender inequality in the public and private sectors. A law passed 10 years ago this week requires women account for at least 40% of board members for companies that are either publicly traded or that have more than 250 employees. Legislation that has improved gender parity in the workplace. For France's 120 biggest companies, women now make up 46% of company boards.
When the law passed 10 years ago, women only made up less than 20% of these companies' boards. So the number of women in these positions has doubled. It's major progress for gender parity on these boards.
While progress has been made, authorities say there is still work to be done. Of the publicly traded companies on France's CAC 40 stock index, only one has a female CEO.
Now, it really is finally from you for this one. A British energy company is looking at new ways to collect money it's owed by the Indian government. Tell us more.
Squeeze in just one more story for you. This is Cairn Energy that was awarded $1.2 billion by an international tribunal in December over a tax dispute with New Delhi. But the Indian government hasn't paid up yet. And now the company is threatening to seize assets belonging to the government to pay the bill. According to reports, that could include planes owned by the state airline Air India, as well as bank accounts that are held abroad. Such an escalation of the dispute could reflect very badly, though, on India as a place to do business and, of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's often billed as being pro-business.
Stephen Carroll with a look through the day's business news. Thank you very much.